Isn't it a beautiful time of year right now? You know, if you're at school, you're thinking about school's almost over and you can go on holiday soon. Even if you're working, you know you're starting to gear up towards Christmas. I don't know about you guys, but I'm thinking about a big feed, two big feeds. The first with my whānau, and the second we're having a hānau with my in-laws. And you know, just to be polite, I have to really partake in both. So just to be polite, otherwise I get all insulted and start all saying so the whole weight loss thing's out the window for Christmas Day. And then you got leftovers. But you know, it's a beautiful time of year, everyone's starting to relax. You know, alcohol sales go through the roof around this time of year. Everyone's just chilling out, getting ready for Christmas, getting ready for summer. And it's been a beautiful week, so you know, emphasize that. But you know what else? As far as the church is concerned, this is a time to wake up, which is kind of tricky. What time we're supposed to relax. This is Advent. Advent is a time to prepare for the coming of Christ. And today we have John again talking to us about not taking things for granted, about waking up. He's got a three-part message for us today. The first part, don't take for granted who you are. John has some good insults, eh? These people come to him for baptism, come to him for words of wisdom. You know what he calls them? A brood of vipers. And I thought about that too. If you're someone's brood, you are their descendants, you're their people. He's talking about your parents. Your parents are vipers. So that's quite a good insult if you think about it. He's insulting their parents, and then he says, just because you are the descendants of Abraham, that doesn't make you anything special. You know, John's people have been holding themselves up for so long as God's chosen people. They were the descendants of Abraham. They were the people God chose to pull them out of slavery, to give them to the promised land, to give the promised land to them. And John's saying, so what? So what if you're God's chosen people? Don't take it for granted. And then he talks about cutting down the tree that doesn't bear fruit. Now, tree, family tree. The roots, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, everything that comes from there. But if it's not bearing fruit, cut it down, throw it into the fire. So John's got quite a challenge for the people who come to him for words of wisdom, for baptism, and he's got quite challenging words for us today as well. Not to take for granted who we are, where we come from, and what that means to us. Don't take it for granted, because if it's not going anywhere, it's just going to be wasted. It's going to be thrown into the fire. The second part of John's challenge today is don't take for granted what we do. You know, these people, he calls them a brood of vipers. He's insulting their mothers, their fathers, their grandparents, everything. And you know what they say? Well, tell us what to do then. You're a very receptive crowd. And John says to them, well, do what you should do. If you got two jackets and someone over there doesn't have anything, give them one of your jackets. Share your possessions with people. Share your kai with people. The tax collectors, the most hated people in their society, come up to him. What about us? Surely there's no hope for us. You know what he says? Carry on doing your mahi. Don't give up, but don't cheat. Don't lie. Don't extort money out of people. And say to the soldiers, yes, you've got a horrible job, no one likes you, but you don't have to do it badly. You don't have to be evil in your work. Just carry on with it. He's not saying leave your work, turn your back on the world. He's saying do what you do, but do it better. Don't take for granted what you do. And then we get to this third part. He starts talking about the one who's coming, because they said, oh, surely you're the Messiah. And John says to them, don't take for granted what's coming. Don't take for granted the way things can change. Don't take for granted that the way we are now will be the way we are forever. Because someone's coming who's going to bring a baptism of fire and the Holy Spirit. Whereas I'm only baptizing with water. And he uses some pretty vivid imagery. He uses this term, the winnowing fork. Now I had to look this up because I don't know about you fellas, but I eat bread, but I don't know how it's made. And they had a thing called a winnowing fork, which looks a bit like a pitchfork. It's kind of a broad thing with some prongs on, like a real wide comb. And they used to get all the wheat on the floor, in a house or barn or whatever, and they come in or outside, and they get this fork and they throw it all up in the air. And what would happen is, the heavy wheat would go up in the air and come back down. But all the loose stuff, the chaff that you don't want, that you can't eat, the wind would catch it and blow it away. So all you'd have left is the wheat. So he's saying, that's what Jesus is going to do. He's going to come and he's going to get the wheat, he's going to throw it in the air, and only the good bits, the grain, comes back down. Everything else gets blown out in the air, blown out to the rubbish. You know, you can take that reading in two ways. One is, he's going to come in this room, get the thing, throw us all up in the air, and some of us are going to drift off in the wind. I don't know if any of us are light enough to drift off in the wind, but some are going to drift off in the wind, and the good ones are going to stay here. But you know what else he's saying? He's going to get us all, do that, and only our good parts are going to come back down. All the stuff we don't need, all the stuff that's no good for us, that's the bit we need to sort out. And that's what Jesus is offering us. So in this time, when we're all relaxing, we're thinking about eating too much, we're thinking about whānau, we're thinking about friends, we're thinking about a beautiful time that's coming to us with Christmas. Jesus is bringing us this message of change. And John is bringing this forerunner message. Don't take this time for granted. Now is the time to reach out to whānau who need us. Now is the time to reach out to friends we haven't been getting on with lately. Now is the time to look for those in need and give them possessions. But also, now is the time to go and get presents for your nephews and nieces from the warehouse. Because that's the way to keep doing the things we appreciate. But let's not take it for granted. You know, let's keep doing what we're doing, but let's not take it for granted. I think that's one of the messages that John has for us today. So it's a challenging message in a hot time, in a relaxing time, but it's a message for us always to take on board as we prepare for Christmas and as we try and keep the true meaning of Christmas in our hearts at all times.